All right. Arsenal fans are eagerly waiting for the signing in of Eberechi. And in the due course of really waiting for a man like Eberechi, a lot of things have gone ahead, obviously, come into place. And very many people have gone ahead and obviously gone ahead to obviously have their say about the Eberechi transfer to Arsenal. And this has been so much escalated by the intervention of Spurs, as they obviously want to come and hijack Eberechi from the transfer of Arsenal. And this is where Eberechi has gone ahead to get in what we call a transfer warning from an Arsenal legend, and you obviously gonna get shocked. Smash the like button, comment and share. If you're only watching us for the very first time, guys, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. How do you subscribe? Lower right bottom corner is the place to be. Smash the black button that has the word subscribe. After smashing it, hit the notification bell. That will enable you get notified every time we upload a video onto this beautiful YouTube channel. And we are really having a Calvert-Lewin who has gone ahead to reach an agreement with the side of Leeds. We are obviously going to be talking a little bit about him. And then lastly, we'll talk about Marcus Rashford, talking about his time at Aston Villa and eventually being at a side known as Barcelona. So, how are you, my mates? Hope you guys are really having fun. And we are here to obviously bring you the latest news and information as far as your transfers are really hugely concerned. Let's get into this Theo Walcott story. Now, Arsenal fans are really gonna be pissed, about this guy. They're obviously gonna be 100% pissed about what he has gone ahead to say. As Arsenal fans felt like he's supposed to be on their side, but he has gone ahead to issue an Eberechi transfer warning to a player that all Arsenal fans believe that he's the last piece missing in the jigsaw of Mikel Arteta to obviously take the trophy. Now, Theo Walcott has said, if he has a good season at Palace, he will go to the World Cup. I'm pretty sure of that. That what other teams will have a look at him after that. Then what other teams will have a look at him after that? If I were Eze, I would probably stay put just because. I would probably stay put just because it's World Cup here. Now, I don't really believe in what Theo Walcott is really saying, because you can tell me that if you want to go to the World Cup, you should obviously be playing at Crystal Palace. I don't really believe in that. I believe in him going to Arsenal, because if you score 8 goals, if you score 8 goals at Palace, and the player who is at Arsenal, who is English, scores 8 goals at Arsenal, I think a player at Arsenal like Noni Madueke has a better chance to obviously go ahead and really play or represent England in the World Cup than you. That is it. So I think he's getting it wrong. That is it. He's getting it wrong. And I'm like, it's not really one of those statements that a national legendary would have gone ahead to obviously come out and make, because I believe it's really very, very, very unthought of. Because Theo Walcott was at Southampton. Was it at Southampton where Arsenal had to buy him? I think at the age of, was it 15 or 16? Why didn't he stay? Why didn't he stay at Southampton? And even for him to go to the World Cup, it was because he was at Arsenal and they took him, I think they took him when he was 16, 17 years, I stand to be corrected, on that. But for him to be taken to the World Cup, he had already gone ahead to sign for Arsenal. You understand? That is Theo Walcott. So I don't want him to obviously come out and really sell out an idea that you need to be playing at a small team and putting in consistent performances to go to the World Cup. I think that's really a lie, because even for him to go to the World Cup, he had to obviously first cross to Arsenal. You understand? And that's when Sven-Göran Eriksson was like, I'm going with him at the World Cup of 2006, because Arsenal had obviously gone ahead to make a choice of obviously letting him in their club. And for Eberechi as a player, I think he's obviously going to thrive at the club of Arsenal. The left forward position is there for him, and sometimes it can be played centrally. He is obviously going to thrive. And I think it will really be hard for him to obviously thrive at the team of Spurs, because Spurs if James Maddison is there, will he enjoy what we call enough playing time? You know, on the left, there are very many competitors. But I think the reason as to why Arsenal need Eberechi Eze is because he's really a creative and will create very many chances for Victor Gyökeres, especially coming off the left attacking side of the midfield as Arsenal shifts to a 4-2-3-1 system into the mix. So this lad, known as Eberechi Eze, is the perfect fit at the club of Arsenal. And I tell you what, he's better than Martinelli, he's better than Trossard. And with what he brings onto the field of play, I tell you, I think Theo Walcott needs to obviously revise what he's talking about. Even if he's a bench player at Arsenal, he comes off the bench and obviously delivers. Those performances will see him really go to the World Cup. And one other factor that this guy needs to consider before obviously giving Eberechi such advice is that chances like these come once in a lifetime. That's what he should obviously recognize and really notice, that chances like these come once in a lifetime. I'm going to cite examples. James Maddison, for 2-3 consecutive summer transfer windows, Arsenal were interested in him, and I think he didn't push for a move, and he ended up at Spurs. But before Odegaard came in through, the chance was all about James Maddison, and Arsenal moved in to get in Odegaard. And when Odegaard came in on a loan in January, he really looked good, and Arsenal went ahead to sign him permanently, and he's the captain of Arsenal. He missed out on that chance. Yefis Bissouma, 2 consecutive summer transfer windows, Arsenal wanted to sign him. He ended up at Spurs, you know, because he was like not willing to push for this deal to happen. The other guy we're talking about is Ndidi. You know, Ndidi, I think Arsenal wanted him, but he never really went ahead to obviously put in the required shift all together. And guess what? He ended up, I think he's still at Leicester, right? The other one is Yuri Tielemans. Arsenal for 3 consecutive seasons wanted him, you know, and he never joined Arsenal. Now he's at Aston Villa. So every season there are players that obviously shine, you know. For example, if I were to ask you last season before it started that who do you think are obviously going to really come out and really thrive, would you talk about Baleba? Would you talk about João Pedro? Would you go in for a player like Eberechi Eze? You understand? So very many players have gone ahead to explode. You look at a player like Mbeumo, how he has gone ahead to explode, you know, and score all those many goals. You understand? So I want to let you know that this is once in a lifetime opportunity to join Arsenal, because Arsenal has very many scouts all over the world. And if you don't come in through right now, what makes you think that Arsenal will go in for you next time? You understand? So players every season have perfect seasons and others don't have. And if you really have a perfect season, you should use it to obviously see yourself elevate to the next team. Eberechi Eze is going to clock 27. So you think the World Cup, this is the last cup to happen in the world, you know? If Eberechi Eze misses out on this World Cup at Arsenal and makes sure that in the next 4 years he's at his peak, obviously the other World Cup where that's going to be played, is it in Morocco, Spain, and so on and so forth, the guy will obviously have to represent to the fullest. So I think it's not all about the World Cup. Though for Julian Timber, he was supposed to come to Man United, and when Louis van Gaal, the former manager of Dutch, told him that if you don't go to United and really get enough playing time to get the World Cup, he kept at Ajax and went ahead and really waited until the World Cup was over. Then he crossed to Arsenal. So I want to let you know that for me, on any day, I would advise Eze to go to Arsenal, and he's picking Arsenal over Spurs. We all know that. So let's wait and see how things pan out. But it's really nice to obviously have you in here onto the Rokani Media Football, as lots of things really come on and really adjust into the mix. So thank you very much for just watching it through. That is Theo Walcott for you, and I think Arsenal fans are really gonna go hard at him, because they're like, you've played for Arsenal and you don't want us to obviously get in a player who we think will obviously turn around lots of things off the left attacking side of the midfield, you know. And I think Arsenal fans are really right. You understand? David Austin, yesterday, Leeds United reached agreement in principle to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin, 28-year-old striker, free agent after Everton contract expired. England international scheduled at Thorpe Arch imminently to do medical before completing the Leeds transfer. Now, Calvert-Lewin had some 2 good seasons. I think after COVID, he was one of those players that everyone was really looking at. And I think by the time he was like 24, But this time round, him being as a free agent, no big team could obviously point at him. Yet very many teams have been looking in for strikers. And I've always had my reservations on him, And I was really shocked when I was seeing him being linked to Man United. And I was like, why would they link this guy to Man United? And United went ahead, obviously, not to do the worse. And they went ahead and obviously brought in Benjamin Sesko. And they spent 85 million euros on his signing. That was really very, 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 very calling for the side of Manchester United. And he has finally gotten to where he belongs to be. I tell you, he's not an exceptional player, He's not an exceptional player, and he has chosen to go at Leeds. And I think if I'm Calvert-Lewin, you need Leeds to obviously get yourself back to where you're supposed to be. I remember those 2021 Euros, when he was even taken to the Euros, he was really the hot asset, There is a player in him, but I think injuries have gone ahead to affect his career a lot, in the recent past. And it doesn't really make sense anymore for him to obviously maybe be at Everton. And maybe he has found out that it's the physios of Everton that are responsible for his recurring injuries, and is looking out for something else to obviously come and really represent to the fullest for the team of Leeds. And I think here he's targeting enough playing time, put in those goals, and maybe Thomas Tuchel will obviously have a thought to see to it that he joins his team that will be going to the World Cup. World Cup year 2026. If he really scores those goals, then they look at him, and you never know. He might obviously be one of those that will see himself really do the needful and really represent. But he's a very good scorer, a good goal scorer, and is really lethal. So we wait and see how it will go. At Leeds have just gone ahead to be really promoted back to the Premier League. You understand? But we wait to see how he fits into that team, whether he will really hit the ground running or not. But he has left Everton and he's really looking at Leeds now. The other last story, Marcus Rashford says, I feel the timing of me going to Aston Villa was like the exact time for me to do something like that. I feel like the response and reaction I got from the fans was incredible. It was probably what I needed on a personal level. Obviously, Rashford had a very good loan spell, at Aston Villa, scored some goals, put in some assists, and I think it really went down that he's really one of those that has gone ahead, obviously put in a shift at Villa. Villa wanted to retain him, but he couldn't take a pay cut. And surprisingly, when Barcelona came in through and obviously told him that we want you, but you take a pay cut, he really did. So it shows you levels of this game and how big Barcelona is, and how Rashford wanted to obviously go and really kick a ball for the club of Barcelona. But he talks about how the fans of Aston Villa really were incredible. The way they really went ahead of giving him support. He needed it because he was going through a tough time, and you could see his body language at Manchester United that Rashford had something wrong in there for you. So he's at Barcelona, and he's commanding a starting position, by the way, ahead of Lewandowski. I don't know whether Lewandowski is really injured, but On Saturday, they're obviously playing away at Mallorca, and Marcus Rashford might see himself score the first goal in the La Liga, courtesy of the creative force that Barcelona really have. And I know that he's obviously going to hit the ground running immediately, as the manager has chosen to play him as a number 9, meaning that Lewandowski, even if he starts, he'll obviously play some 60 minutes, and then Marcus Rashford obviously coming through to obviously try out his luck on whether he can score on his La Liga debut. So guys, your thoughts on Eberechi Eze to Arsenal transfer warning sounded by an Arsenal legend. Moreover, they are gonna eat him alive. I tell you, the Arsenal fans are not jokers. What do you make about Calvert-Lewin joining Everton? And lastly, your thoughts about Marcus Rashford on how he felt at home again at Villa than he was at Old Trafford, where he was shown the exit door by the manager of Man United, known as Ruben Amorim, in there for you. So 300 likes on this video and continue to subscribe. More is coming to you. And we out for now. See you later. Bye-bye.